Welcome, everybody, to the Off the Mic Wrestling Show YouTube channel, previewing NXT No Mercy in Denver on Sunday night. This should be a really good show. I'm really looking forward to it. NXT is really where it's at right now. I hope that this is another step in the right direction for this promotion, and some really interesting stuff happening in terms of this card. You've got two TNA wrestlers on this show. And let's start with the first match here that I want to talk about. Wesley taking on Zachary Wentz, and an interesting development that certainly adds a little bit of intrigue to this match. I can't imagine it's going to be for a championship here, but Zachary Wentz won the TNA X Division Championship at Emergence on Friday night, which was a surprise because Mike Bailey just won the championship at Slammiversary. And so what makes this interesting is I thought that this was just going to be a one-off match and Zachary Wentz would just go back to TNA. That's not the case anymore. I think Wesley's going to win this match, but what I think it's going to lead to is I think it's going to be like a give and take. I think Wesley's going to go over to TNA and basically effectively get a TNA X Division title shot out of this and face his former friend in Zachary Wentz. Great for Zachary Wentz, who's had to go through a lot of adversity and a lot of, really just, bizarre situations in his life in terms of his ex-wife, and then there were some Nazi posts that came about, and you know how the internet works these days. A lot of things will resurface in your life and come back to bite you. But he's gotten to this point in his career. He's now a champion in TNA, and he's got a really white-hot feud with a former friend, and obviously the Wesley, that shocking heel turn that happened at the Great American Bash, certainly makes this, a really interesting, match on this card. But what I imagine is going to happen, I can't see it, based off the fact that Jordan Grace was really like the first one to break down the wall of TNA going to NXT. I just can't see a TNA wrestler winning on a WWE show at this point. And if it were going to happen, it may happen in the main event of this show or one of the main events, depending on, I don't know, there's some question as to what might actually main event this show. No disrespect to Zachary Wentz, even though he just won the championship, I think that this is a spot for Wesley to win, and it sets up another match down the line. That's what I think makes this really interesting. So this should be a lot of fun. These guys are really, really entertaining performers. And this is, like I said, coming off the back of that Wesley heel turn, I'm really excited to see this match and see how this story progresses on NXT and also potentially over in TNA. Tag team title match. Tag team title matches for NXT are always fucking great. Chase U, Andre Chase and Ridge Holland, who just won the championships, facing the former champions in Nathan Frazier and Axiom. I just can't see Chase U and them bringing the titles and taking it off of them this quickly. They're going to run with the titles. Frazier and Axiom, there's a potential for them to break off. I mean, they're breaking up tag teams left and right, it seems like. But these guys are ready for a singles run on their own. They're both fantastic wrestlers. They had a great run with the championships, but I could totally see a scenario where one turns on the other after the match or in the match, however you want to see it. So this should be interesting. I'm really happy for Ridge Holland, considering where he was. He's always had, that Big E incident where he broke Big E's neck, unfortunately. That's kind of been following him for a while. He got in the Brawling Brutes. That was a good run for him. Then Sheamus left last year. And obviously you're seeing Pete Dunne starting to get pushed a little bit in NXT. So that's an interesting part of this whole thing. Ridge finds his home in Chase U, kind of replacing, Duke Hudson, which is another interesting part of the story that's going to be something to follow moving forward. But I don't think Chase U is going to lose the championships here. I think it's going to be Chase U over Axiom and Frazier. Then Women's North American title match. Kalani Jordan defending against Wendy Chu. Great for Wendy Chu to get this opportunity. She's been in the NXT system for a long time. I got to say this about Kalani Jordan. I'm going to say this a couple times on the show because I just love what NXT is doing, and they have figured out how to build stars and build the stars of tomorrow, which is really what NXT should have been. I loved black and gold NXT, but a lot of these guys were at their ceiling, and you didn't see a potential, especially with the way things were structured with Vince McMahon not knowing what the fuck to do with these people on the main roster when they got called up. This is the right pattern where you have young, kind of raw, maybe green talents coming into your promotion and learning on the fly and being a part of the NXT Performance Center crew is as good as there ever been. And Kalani Jordan is one of the great examples of why this system is working. And she deserved and earned this women's North American title, won the ladder match at Battleground a couple months back. She's not losing the championship. She's only been in wrestling for 2 years. She's a former gymnast, got in the NIL system, like literally has been with the company, I think, since like 22, I think. Obviously, she's also got a really talented, significant other in Carmelo Hayes, helping her get along as a performer, as a wrestler. So I know Carmelo will definitely be rooting hard for Kalani in this match. But yeah, this should be a fun showcase, but I think Kalani's going to win. She's shown a ton of improvement in just a short amount of time. This should be a lot of fun. Speaking of NIL and developmental talents that are rising to a new level, how about Obafemi? This men's North American Championship match is going to be fucking awesome, because I just enjoy the hell out of watching Obafemi perform. The guy, I think, had on two hands the amount of matches that he had participated in before he won the breakout tournament and the North American title. I think it was last year when he won it. This guy has been nothing short of a phenomenal champion. If you think what Bronson Reed has been doing on the main roster the last few weeks is something, go watch Obafemi. This guy was tossing Wes Lee around like he was a bunch of pizza dough. Like it was nothing. He was smacking him out of midair with his bare hand. Like, it is insane to watch how good this guy is with the limited amount of experience that he's had. He's a former, I think, shot putter at the University of Alabama. The guy's only been doing this for a couple of years now. Only a handful of matches that he's actually done. And this North American Championship run has been nothing short of fantastic. He's run through just about every conceivable person that you could face for this title. So he faces Tony D'Angelo, who is an OG from NXT 2.0, like really the starting of this thing, and then they kind of figured out like a neat little balance in a hybrid. But Tony D'Angelo's been around for a while. He just lost the Heritage Cup. I love that he's getting another opportunity. He challenged for the NXT title against Dragunov at Stand and Deliver earlier this year, so it's a good thing for him to get another match because he's one of the best characters as the Don in NXT. But Obafemi's winning this match. Let's not kid ourselves. This will be a great showcase for Tony D. I honestly don't know what more there is for Tony D to do in NXT at this point. I could honestly see a call-up in his future, depending on if they want to do post-SummerSlam, post-Bash in Berlin type call-ups when these shows premiere, like it's SmackDown goes to USA and NXT goes to CW and Raw at the start of 2025 goes to Netflix. So maybe they want to reshuffle the rosters, but Obafemi's going to win this match. And the question becomes, who the fuck does Obafemi face after this? I got something for you. Moose. We got to do it, man. At some point, you got to bring this guy in. He was the TNA champion for 6 months this year. One of the biggest stars TNA has. At some point, you've got to evolve and, move him over into this feud. And I think a match between him, two athletes like Moose and Obafemi would be freaking great to watch. So I hope that happens. But yeah, Obafemi retains the North American title here. And then I'm up in the air about what's going to main event this show. Because you can make the argument for the women's championship match or the NXT championship match to main event. Roxanne Perez is facing Jada Parker for the women's championship. And then Ethan Page is taking on Joe Hendry. So for the sake of this, I'm going to say that Joe Hendry, Ethan Page is going to main event this show, because saying that a TNA wrestler would main event a WWE Premium Live event is just unfathomable to think about at this stage of the game. I thought it might happen with Jordan Grace at Battleground. It didn't happen. I think this is a really good opportunity because Joe Hendry's literally the talk of the wrestling world. No, like I said, from London, Paris, Tokyo, America, Scotland, Canada to Mexico. I mean, heck, he did a remix with the Hardys at TNA Emergence, so that was crazy. But let's talk about Roxanne Perez versus Jada Parker. Jada Parker, another great example of, the NXT system working. She came in, kind of went viral because of, her assets. And I think Shawn Michaels has, brought in a different variety of women, but also women who actually can work and aren't just like, like the olden days of WWE where they're just pretty faces and they can't wrestle. Like, these women are coming along. Jada Parker has really come into her own, not only as a wrestler, but as a character. She's genuinely one of the most interesting people in the women's division. She slapped Roxanne Perez like her face literally off in the go home promo on NXT this past week. That being said, Roxanne Perez is just a different beast, man. This girl's 22 years old. I interviewed her, I think about 3 years ago, and the growth of this woman, and she's called the Prodigy for a reason. Like, to have somebody this gifted and this talented and this refined as a performer at the age of 22 is nothing short of incredible. And this run that she has had, turning heel and going on this run, really the reign of terror, and just dominating this women's division. She beat Thea Hale. She beat Lola Vice. Like, she's gone through just about every single conceivable person in this women's division. She's not losing this match. Jada Parker will have a great showing in this match. What this is really about, and why I think this might main event this show, is that the NXT women's division is already freaking good. It's about to get even better, because Stephanie Vaquer is due at any point. Julia is due at any point. You've already seen Julia on Stand and Deliver in the front row with William Regal. Stephanie Vaquer was on a Mexico tour when she literally got done with like 2 weeks after being on an AEW show in Forbidden Door. So one or both of those women is going to show up in this segment. And there's also Delta, who a lot of people don't talk about, an Australian performer who's really interesting. She could show up. The women's division is going to get a lot better. And that could be a really interesting angle to end this show on. Like, for the sake of this, I'm going to say that the women won't main event. They could end up doing an angle out of this and, keep it fresh and have Joe Hendry main event the show against Ethan Page. But the point of this match is, like, it's going to be a good showcase for Jada Parker. Roxanne's going to win, and it's going to set up her next feud with whoever it is, whether it be Julia, Stephanie Vaquer, or Delta. It doesn't really matter at this point, but it's going to be a big night for the women's division of NXT. And then the main event, Ethan Page defending against Joe Hendry. Trick Williams is the referee for this match. I freaking love Ethan Page, man. I'm so happy for this guy. He was one of the biggest victims of AEW, and Tony Khan just signing every wrestler under the sun to big money contracts, because Ethan Page came in 2021 before, a lot of the COVID restrictions started getting lifted and we went back to full crowds. He shows up at Revolution in the face of the Revolution match, and it was supposed to be this big deal, and then they threw him into a partnership with Scorpio Sky, and then they threw him with Dan Lambert, and then they threw him with The Firm and backed up MJF, and then he was with the Hardys, and he didn't really do anything. And then he goes to NXT, and on his first night there, he attacks Trick Williams and wins the championship in the quickest amount of time in NXT history. So he's facing Joe Hendry in this match, and the Trick Williams element of this is really interesting too, because Trick Williams is the referee because Ethan Page did everything in his power to physically stop referees from counting 3 so Joe Hendry wouldn't win the number 1 contenders match a couple weeks ago on NXT. So Ava made the decision to put Trick Williams into this match, which I think is really interesting, because I am not going to leave off the shocking element of Trick Williams potentially turning heel, even though he's been playing buddy-buddy with Joe Hendry this entire time. I could totally see that playing out. There's the wild card element of Joe Hendry potentially winning the championship. I just think it's too soon to take the title off of Ethan Page at this point. And considering, the deck being stacked against him in this build with, Joe Hendry overcoming the odds and there being a special ref with a vendetta against him, I just don't see the scenario of Ethan Page losing the championship here. It could happen, and it would be a seismic move in the wrestling industry for a TNA wrestler to win a WWE championship on a premium live event, because that's just unfathomable to think about. It's unfathomable that conceivably a TNA wrestler could main event a WWE show, but winning a championship is a whole other beast. What I think is going to happen here, there's probably going to be a ref bump. Pete Dunne might get involved and get rid of Trick Williams, maybe in that capacity. And I think Josh Alexander from TNA is going to get involved in this match and help his former friend, his former tag team partner in Ethan Page in the North. And he's going to get involved in this. He's already got beef with Joe Hendry. He turned heel on him in the six-way elimination match at Slammiversary for TNA. He just lost a 60-minute Iron Man match to Nick and Nemeth at Emergence on Friday night. I think inserting Josh Alexander in this thing, and then you could potentially spawn that off into maybe, having the North team up against Joe Hendry and a Trick Williams, or Joe Hendry and somebody else. If Trick Williams is going to go off and do something with Pete Dunne. But I think Pete Dunne will probably get involved. This might get overbooked to shit. Because especially with a special guest referee, you're going to see some, as what I call with my sister, some fuckery. So this should be a really good show. I'm really looking forward to this. Big time stuff from NXT. Denver should be rocking. The NXT crowds have traveled really, really well. And should be a good time. And we'll see if there's any shockers in place. But NXT has brought it for a while now. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that subscribe button below. Would love feedback. Would love to hear your comments on this. Trying to bring new light. And like I said, I love that we're talking more about NXT because this product deserves it a lot. I feel like sometimes I bring a lot of negativity to this channel because of, I'm not going to say my disdain, but it's just like my frustration with AEW. But it's really a breath of fresh air to see just so much energy and positivity behind NXT. And this is a big time show for them following up Bash in Berlin. So subscribe to the YouTube channel here. Follow the show at OT Mike Wrestling. Follow me at Off the Mic 28. We'll have more great content. We obviously have premium live event reviews, Raw reviews, doing a lot of short content off of just shorter digestible takes. Like, share, and subscribe. Love you guys. Appreciate you. And I'll talk to you guys soon.